Hello, everyone. Welcome to Reach Minds Thoughts for Your Life's Journey podcasts. What I want to share is in the next 4 episodes, in honor and in celebration of the International Women's Day, we are going to be hearing the voices and journeys of 4 remarkable women who have made a contribution both in the work that they do and also making a difference and having an impact on others. So enjoy listening to them. Welcome to the Reach Minds Thoughts for Your Life's Journey podcast. In this podcast, we will be exploring the unique fusion of 2 passions that bring joy and fulfillment. Those are science and music. My guest today is Winnie Greer, an educational consultant and senior teacher of A-levels, chemistry and GCSE sciences. Over the past 20 years, Winnie has successfully combined her teaching career with her love for jazz singing by night. Today, we're going to be delving into Winnie's balance of her 2 passions, the impact they have had in her life, and how pursuing diverse interest can lead to a fulfilling and joyful life journey. Welcome, Winnie.
Welcome. Thank you very much. Nice to be here. Thank you.
And so one of the things I want to start, Winnie, asking you is your journey to music. How did it start?
Well, I'm very pleased to say it started really from school. I had a very inspirational music teacher, head of music, Peter Broadbent, and he had great aspirations for us as a choir and enabled us to travel and compete in various competitions. And that really sparked my love of music and performing, particularly with singing and in a choir. And we went to the International Eisteddfod. He took us to Vienna to sing in the concert house. So we had a lot of experience of performing. And that really just fired me into music as a young person. As I grew up, I continued singing in choirs for quite a few years. And then later on in life, just got a real feeling that there was something, another style of singing that I could do because my choirs were singing more classical music. And I just felt there was something else. I wasn't a gospel girl. That wasn't my area, but there was something else. And a friend said, well, have a try with jazz. So she said, immerse yourself for a week and see how you get on. So that's kind of how I sort of first got into jazz, really.
So before we kind of talk about the passion of jazz, tell me a little bit, how do you combine the teaching that you do with the performance with jazz, and how do you bring balance into those things?
Okay, I think as a teacher, you have the skills of having to stand up in front of groups of people. And in a way, it's a performance in itself because you're giving out to your students, to the school community. So the similarity there, those skills are transferable to the jazz performance, particularly solo performancing as opposed to singing in a choir. So it enabled me to be able to stand quite comfortably in front of people and perform. So those skills were transferable. And as I suppose, and also as a teacher, you have to constantly be learning and constantly developing your skill as a teacher. It's never perfect. Every day is different, and you have to adapt to the different students. So you're constantly honing your teaching skills. So in jazz, that kind of gave me that persistence that even though at the beginning, I was kind of a baby jazzer, I needed to learn a lot. That determination just to continue to work at it, that also stemmed from my teaching career, really. That determination just to keep going, just to keep going.
And I love the word baby jazzer. So tell me a little bit about, which you alluded to earlier on, about how a friend said to you, try this. So tell me a little bit about your journey of transitioning from maybe being a gospel singer to being a jazz singer.
Well, yes, it was very interesting. My friend said, go and do a residential for a week. You'll then get a feeling of whether you like jazz or not. So I was very excited, very nervous and very excited. And I went And on the first day, they give you an opportunity for each interperson to sing so they could put you into various groups, which is nerve-wracking in itself. I did that, got into a beginners group, fine. And the first couple of days, I was really excited, thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought, this is wonderful, so much. But as the week got on, I realized how little I knew. And it got to about Wednesday, and I was phoning my friend saying, I think I better go home because I don't really think this is for me because I just so much I don't know about this genre. I'm never going to get it. And she said, just stay for the week. So I avoided performing all week until the Friday. And I had a very formidable and lovely woman, Lee Gibson, as a jazz tutor. And she came to me on Friday and said, Winnie, I noticed you haven't performed yet all week. So you're on next. I had to just go and do it. So I performed and it sounded like a choir girl singing jazz. It wasn't very jazzy. But when I came off, Nita, when I came off that stage, I just knew this was what I wanted to do. It just sparked that passion. So I knew that it doesn't matter. I'm going to go to courses. I'm going to train. I'm going to do everything I can because this is what I was meant to do.
So if you were to bottle that sort of passion, how would you articulate that? What did it connect with you?
I was trying to sort of reflect on this a few years ago as to what it was. Someone asked me that question. I think what it was like I've obviously got a great love of music and there was a passion for music, but there was a part of me that hadn't been fired up yet. So performing in choirs was great, doing classical stuff was great, but it just felt there was something missing. So as soon as I got on the stage and just heard the band play and I started to sing this, I just thought, this is it. So it opened up that extra part of me, the part of music that hadn't really been explored yet. I think that's the only way I can kind of articulate it, really. It just sparked that section of music that hadn't really been explored.
And I'm kind of interested also why jazz, because I know you could have done pop music
Yeah.
so, and why jazz? What is it about jazz that sort of fired you up?
I think part of it is historical. My mum's brother, Felix Roach, who lives in Trinidad, he's about 90 now, 92 or 93 now. And he was known as Sugar Fingers, and he was a well-established jazz pianist in Trinidad, and he was given an award for his performances and contribution to music in Trinidad. And I used to listen to some of his playing when I was younger, and I think that might have just been in the background. But I think jazz for me, because it has such a heritage of some fantastic performers from way back, and I love the opportunity to sing some of those songs and bring them back to life, so the jazz standards. So I think the history of this of jazz kind of brought me into it, and just the flexibility of it, the fact that once you understand the regiment of it, you can actually be free, and it gives you that flexibility to really perform and improvise, and yeah, it just gives you that freedom once you have the structure.
What would be some of the songs that you really connect with or have connected with?
Okay, well, from some of the performers, like if some like Ella Fitzgerald, she is my idol, definitely, and songs that she sang. So that old Black Magic she sang, some of the lovely ballads that she sang, My One and Only Love. There was so many, and I was so amazed with her life because she is one of the few jazz artists who had a really awful childhood, terrible upbringing, and yet her performances were always very upbeat and positive, and she was raising that. Whereas some of the other performers who had a hard life, you could see their hardship more in their performance. But with Ella, it was like, yes, that was it. But when she's on that stage and performing, just everything just lights up.
And one of the things I observed with her when I listened to her, because as
Yes.
my husband plays or
Yes.
sings like yourself, and that she can really wrap the lyrics around her. That's how I
Oh,
experience her.
that
And
is
there
so
isn't
true.
any place that she won't not go from scatting to going up high.
There's a real flex, and that's what also is so amazing. If you do watch her, and it doesn't matter how old she is, whether she's very young or if you see her when she performs at 80. I mean, I remember saw her doing a performance where she had these two really handsome men dressed in dinner suits help her to come onto the stage at about 80 with her kind of bottle glasses she had on.
Yes.
And yet, when that music came on, that woman was 25. She just, it was just phenomenal to watch her performance. So she's definitely an inspiration to me in the sense of just spreading joy through the music.
So building on that, what's been your peak performance in your jazz music?
Well, I think for me, it was having the opportunity to sing at Pizza Express Dean Street for the first time. You hear stories where people say, oh, a lot of success is via luck. And I used to think, oh, I don't know about that. But actually, in this case, getting to Pizza Express for me was a series of coincidences, which I couldn't have even imagined. I was traveling to work one morning on the tube and I was late. As I was on the tube, the platform was packed with people on the Victoria line. So I decided to go across to the Piccadilly line and I was standing there. That was also packed, but I was standing next to a very beautiful woman and we just got talking and we got onto the train and she said, oh, so what do you do? I said, oh, well, I teach, but I said, I also sing. And she said, oh, I'm a singer-songwriter. And I said, oh, that's interesting. And she said, have you ever thought of singing at Pizza Express? Now, when someone says that to you, it's like that was been a dream of mine. So I said, well, yeah, of course, but I've got no idea of how to do it. So she said, well, just send me your website, send me your email address. We exchange numbers. She said, and I'll give you a contact. So I said, okay. So she did that and she gave me the contact for Pizza Express. And I sent my little email off saying, hi, my name's Winnie. I'm a little jazz singer. Good idea. And the email I got back initially was rightly so. Well, that's great. But who are you? Can you show me what you've done in the past? Can you guarantee you're going to get numbers? You're going to get the numbers, etc. So I said, yeah, okay. And eventually I worked very hard to market this gig because I wanted to be a sellout. And a week before the date, I had that joy of going online and seeing my poster with a sign across it, sold out.
Fantastic.
Oh, it was honestly a dream come true. And so that to me, and being able to come there and perform at Pizza Express Dean Street for me was a major step for me. It was huge because it's a well-established jazz venue. To have my picture and my show in the same booklet as some of these amazing, like Gregory Porter and all these other Jamie Cullum, all these amazing people in this booklet. And there's Winnie Greer on a page in the same booklet. It's phenomenal.
Fantastic.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So that was a real peak for me.
How do you combine your passion, as we said earlier on, in science with your music now, a few years on? What keeps you going?
I do still enjoy teaching. I think for both of them, I'm a person that's quite goal-driven, and I always love to push myself and to make sure I achieve something and have something new to work towards. And I've always done that through my teaching career. So I think that's kind of spilled over really into my jazz life now, in terms of making sure I've got a jazz gig, making sure I've got something happening, making sure I'm always working towards something, whether it be going on a jazz course, whether it be working on a song, just having that drive, really.
They sound like two big things in your life. How do you balance them?
Well, it's funny. I think one feeds off the other. The way I can describe it is that with my teaching, I'm pouring out of myself to the students and to school community. With my jazz singing, I'm pouring into myself. So it's a kind of a cycle thing. If I spent a whole year and I didn't do any jazz performances, then I think that would impact on my teaching because that side of me hasn't been kept alive. They both need to be alive and work together. So I can continually go in and teach and put out, because I know that when I do a jazz performance, that also puts back into me. So it sort of feeds me to give me the energy then to go and do that. It's an interesting symbiosis.
So, what would you say to others who maybe want to combine two areas in their lives in
Mhm.
pursuing a music career?
I think, first of all, I know this might sound a bit strange, but I said just don't listen to anyone around you who tells you you can't do it. Okay? Because anything can seem quite difficult when you first start. And there will be people around going, oh gosh, that's quite a lot for you to do. You sure you're going to manage it? And there's doubt putting into your mind. And they're not doing it in a horrible way, they're just doing it in a concerned way. But people who've achieved great things, they have to push themselves sometimes and they have to put that extra effort in. So if you passionately believe in something, my advice to you is to really drive through with that. Do everything you can to make it happen. So for me, I wanted to do jazz. I knew I wasn't good at it, so I went on several courses. In the summer, I used to do week residentials. We had a residential in France in a chateau, lovely holiday, but great hard work. I've done jazz courses here. I'm going on one still in the summer, Clef, fantastic company. Do a fantastic week's jazz course in University of Chichester, where there's loads of musical instruments and it's fantastic experience. So continually building up your confidence, building up your skills. That's one thing. And secondly, in terms of jazz, it's just performing. I went through the first few years, I was doing a lot of courses, but I wasn't doing a lot of performing. And what someone said to me is really for you to get that confident, you've got to put so many thousands of hours of performance in for you to be really at that point. And that was so true for me. So as soon as I joined, there was a jazz crossover jazz rooms. We used to run on a Friday by Bernadette Bryant. She used to run it. And every Friday I would go and sing. And that for 5 years. And that changed my whole performance style because you don't know the band. You have to get used to who they are, got used to all situations. Some performances were great, some weren't so great, but you learn. And every time you do it, you learn and you learn to the point now. If someone said to me now, this is not bragging, I'm just saying we're at the stage I'm at. If someone said to me, Winnie, I'd like you to go and sing a jazz number, I would just do it with little reservation now because of the experience and work I've put in beforehand.
So, describe the feeling you have when you're just about to perform. Yeah.
When I think back to Pizza Express, I remember an important part of me performing is the whole how I look. So it's the whole dress and the whole outlook, makeup, everything. So once I have all of that on, and I'm then waiting behind the doors, I can describe this vividly. So I'm waiting behind the double doors before they announce for me to come on. And I have a mixture of excitement, but also that sort of kind of nervousness because the first song is always the one you've got to break in with the first song. And it's like, oh my goodness. And then you get that moment where you forget your lyrics and you think, how can I forget it? I've done this so many times beforehand. And then they announce, right, good evening, Winnie Greer coming to the stage. And then you walk through and then you've got to walk to the stage. So while you're walking to that stage, you're thinking, okay, Lord, there are people here that I know, smiley faces, just try and calm down. And then once I get up onto the stage and I face everybody, I kind of go into teacher mode a little bit because I'm now in front of a group of people naturally. But there's that nervousness until I get that first song. And once I've done the first song, and one of my sort of unique selling points, I think, is conversing with the audience. That's my thing. I have a real connection. So once I've sung the first song and I start talking to the audience, then I'm away. I'm then in my zone. And that's great then. And then it just starts to
Takes
flow
off.
through. Yeah, it takes off, definitely.
So, as we bring this to a close, I wonder if
Mhm.
you can do a little tune for us,
Oh,
Winnie.
okay, that's no problem. I'll sing a bit of Fly Me to the Moon. Fly me to the moon and let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. In other words, hold my hand. In other words, my darling, kiss me. Fill my heart with song and let me sing forevermore. You are all I long for, all I worship and adore. In other words, please be true, yes. In other words, ooh, in other words, I love you.
Beautiful. And just to let people who are listening in, we didn't rehearse this at
No, I didn't know
all.
I was going
So
to do that at all. So
thank you very much. I think it's
mhm.
beautiful.
Thank you so much, Nita, and I really appreciate the opportunity to share my story. Thank you.
Thank you. And if other people really enjoy listening to it, pass it on to your friends. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
If you enjoy listening, tell a friend.